All right. Part 2. Part deuce. Oh, damn it. At least this one's shorter.
Let me introduce you to Eric Swenson. He runs a service desk for an IT company in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. He's registered as a libertarian, describes himself as an independent. He says he's undecided. Eric?
Thank you, Anderson. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Eric.
So my question is concerning groceries. Grocery prices have gone up quite a bit.
Finally,
in the last
a real
4 years.
question.
And
Jeez
some
Louise,
people
that whole first part
blame
was
former
just
President
nothing.
Trump. Some people blame President Biden. Who would you say is correct? And what would you do to bring prices down for Americans?
Thank you, Eric. And you're absolutely right. You know it. I know it. I think most Americans know it.
Is
Price
this
of groceries-
grooming? Is she grooming the guy when she showers him, saying, yes, you're right? She does that with everyone who asks them questions. She immediately tells them that, yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely correct. You're such a good boy. That's like predatory grooming. Just answer the question.
Still too high. And we need to address it in a number of ways. One of my aspects of doing what we need to do to bring down the cost of living for working people and the middle class in America is to address the issue of grocery prices. Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach grounded in a lot of my experiences as a former attorney general, where I took on price gouging. And part of my plan is to create a new approach that is the first time that we will have a national ban on price gouging.
Kamala, this is terrible. Don't do this. This is awful.
Taking advantage of the desperation and need of the American consumer.
Is this what's happening? I don't think this is what's happening. Kamala, it's the fact that your administration is dumping so much money of our taxes and just destroying our economy with your horrible spending. Name the corporations that are predatory. How about that? Name the corporations that are predatory. Ugh, her face. All right.
And jacking up prices without any consequence or accountability.
Name an example, please.
So that is one way. But to your point, Eric,
whatever.
there are a number of issues that we need to address in terms of bringing down the cost.
There's a number of issues.
Living. It includes what we need is a new approach that I bring to
Is this
the
repeating?
issue.
Am I going insane, or is she just repeating this question over again?
Of affordable housing.
Oh, come on.
I lost 46 pounds.
Oh, I mean, whatever.
It's more than just eating less and working out. It's making you the best you that you could be. I really like the fact that you have it there with you.
Including, for example, rent. And again, I bring to it my experience, knowing what has been happening in terms of how corporations have been buying up blocks of property.
Which corporations?
To diminish competition, and then rents get...
Okay, her face in this whole video, look at that. That's not a face you want looking at you. Damn.
Backed up, and addressing that, both in terms of making sure that there is a consequence and accountability for that, but also investing in people's dreams of home ownership, knowing that for too long, frankly, both administrations and both parties, Democrats and Republicans, haven't done enough to deal with the issue of housing. And we need a new approach that includes working with the private sector.
Demon face.
I say
Demon
that
face.
as a devout public servant. Working with the private sector to cut through the red tape, working with home builders, working with developers to create tax incentives so that we can create more housing supply and bring down the price.
Let me just ask you about price gouging. I looked at your plan. You talk about going after price gougers, and I'm quoting from the plan, on essential goods during emergencies or times of crisis. I get that. How does that help, though, someone like Eric with prices that for years the grocery prices just been high?
Well, first of all, Anderson, as you know, and obviously CNN has been covering extensively what has been happening in the state of Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. It's a real issue. I was Attorney General of California. I was the top law enforcement officer of the biggest state in the country. I took this issue on because it affects a lot of people. And I'm not going to apologize for the fact that we need to actually deal with accountability when these, not all, in fact, most don't, but when companies are taking advantage of the desperation and the need of the American people. We saw it actually during the pandemic as well, where because of supply chain issues, there was a reduction of supply, and then they would inflate the price of everyday necessities. Not to mention, by the way, again, Donald Trump should be here tonight to talk with you and answer your questions. He's not. He refused to come.
What do you?
But understand that part of his plan
What?
is to put in place a national sales tax of at least 20% on everyday goods and necessities. And that, by economist estimates, independent economists, would cost you as the American consumer and taxpayer an additional $4,000 a year.
I want you to meet Carol Nakanoff, a political science professor at Swarthmore College. She's a registered Democrat who says she's leaning
That was
toward
one of the
voting
most
for you.
broken answers I've ever heard, by the way. She just, oh gosh.
Has yet to make her final decision. Carol?
Hi, Carol. Thank
Good
you.
evening. Thank you for visiting us
Carol's
in Delaware
gonna gut
County,
her alive.
Vice President Harris. My question is this. If you could accomplish only one major policy goal that required congressional action, what would it be and why?
Jeez.
Well, there's not just one. I have to be honest with you, Carol. There's a lot of work that needs to happen, but I think that maybe part of this point that how I think about it is we've got to get past this era of politics and partisan politics.
Is she suggesting a single party?
Slowing down what we need to do in terms of progress in our country. And that means working across the aisle. I've done that before. We did it around whether it be what
The question is, if you could accomplish only one major policy goal, required action by Congress, what would it be and why? Okay, let's keep that in mind. Let's see if she'll actually reference at least one policy goal. Because so far she hasn't said anything.
we're able to accomplish with the bipartisan infrastructure deal or some of the work that we have done in terms of dealing with gun safety. But we've got to work across the aisle, and it is my commitment to work
Come on, answer the
with
poor woman's
Democrats,
question.
with Republicans, with independents, to deal with a number of issues, whether it be what we need to do in terms of housing
Oh my gosh.
and creating legislation that creates
Answer her
incentives for
question.
that.
This isn't
what
a hard
we need to do to
question.
reinstate
What's your favorite
the freedom
policy
of a woman
goal?
to make decisions about
Say
her
it.
own body and not have her government
You
tell
not
her
have
what
one?
to do. Whether it be what we
Why
need
is she
to do
shrugging?
to actually invest in a substantial way in the industries of
one.
the future, in American-based manufacturing, in American-based industries where American workers and union workers have those jobs in a way that is good-paying jobs that gives people the dignity they deserve. All of those areas I plan on working across the aisle and with Congress, including the issue of immigration, which we've got
It
to
wasn't
fix.
like a weird question. Just whatever.
Let me ask you, you've talked about codifying Roe v. Wade. That would obviously require 60 votes in the Senate, a majority of the House. That's a big leap. We don't have that yet. If that's not possible to codify it in the House, what do you do?
I think we need to take a look at the filibuster, to be honest with you. But the reality of it is this. Let's talk about how we got here.
No, please. No, please.
When Donald Trump was president, he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did as he intended. And now in 20 states, we have Trump abortion bans
I'm not
that
gonna
include
rant about this.
punishing
Already did.
healthcare providers, doctors and nurses. In Texas, do you know they provide for prison for life? For a healthcare provider for doing the job that they believe is in the best interest of their patient?
That's objectively untrue. No one in that field thinks that way at all.
Laws, Trump abortion bans,
name
some
one
that make no
person.
exception even for rape or incest.
Trump supports the exceptions. Blah, 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 blah.
One of the areas I specialized in as a prosecutor was crimes against women and children.
Say that you
The idea you would tell a survivor of a violation to their body that they have no right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. This is what's happening in our country. You all may have heard the stories. Women have died. Women have died because of these laws.
No, that's straight up false. It is completely bogus. The numbers don't lie. Women have died because of these laws. There's pretty much no evidence to suggest that these laws got women killed, unless if she's making a very specific case about a very specific woman. The death rate is already incredibly low. I think it was, I forgot, it was like 2022 or something. Yes? No, I'm filming. Oh, no. If I was done, I'd be screaming, hallelujah, I don't have to watch this anymore. And you would hear me. For sure. This is only part 2. I don't know if I can do part 3 and 4, but we'll see. My camera's almost dead as well. If I wouldn't pause it so much to rant about this stuff, it would probably go a lot faster. The remaining parts are 10 minutes each. Maybe. I don't know. Well, anyways. Right. Bye. I completely lost my train of thought on the abortion thing. Basically, the numbers are not in her favor. And the actual number of increased deaths after these laws came into place would only add maybe, like literally, maybe 7 deaths. And that's just by pure coincidence that these laws came into place. All right. There's only about like maybe 1,000 or so women die per year due to pregnancy, birth complications. And then the amount, you break that down, by the way, to how many are actually killed because they can't get an abortion. It's like just a couple women. We're talking like maybe only 1 or 2 people. So when she says women died, obviously she can't just say the number. And again, you'd also have to break down exactly what that circumstance was. Oh, the battery died way faster than I thought. Oh, and this one also doesn't have much meaning. I might not have to watch the other parts. And
we have Trump abortion bans.
Shut up.
That include punishing healthcare providers, doctors and nurses. In Texas, do you know they provide for prison for life? For a healthcare provider, for doing the job that they believe is in the best interest of their patient? Laws, Trump abortion bans, some that make no exception even for rape or incest. One of the areas I specialized in as a prosecutor was crimes against women and children. The idea you would tell a survivor of a violation to their body that they have no right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. This is what's happening in our country. You all may have heard the stories. Women have died.
The violation to the body thing. Oh, makes up for so few of the instances. If you look at the statistics and actual numbers of these things, Kamala Harris hates numbers, apparently. It's like on the lowest end out of all the reasons why women get abortions. It's on the lowest, or one of the lowest. I don't know if it's the lowest, but most of the time women get abortions, the highest reason, at least the ones that they've talked about, is usually because like financial, social, and just like, oh, I'm not sure if I want it. Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to have a kid. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And then they do that.
And have died because of these laws. And the suffering, I have to say, Anderson, traveling, for example, I was with Liz Cheney this week.
Oh my gosh.
She is unapologetically pro-life and will also tell you that she doesn't agree with what's been happening. I find that many people I've met who are pro-life have said to me, you know, I didn't intend that this would happen. I didn't intend that women who are suffering a miscarriage would develop sepsis, as has happened many times. I didn't intend that women would die. I didn't intend that there would now be restrictions on access to in vitro fertilization. I didn't intend that there would be an effort to limit access to contraception. So, you know, this is probably one of the most fundamental freedoms that we as Americans could imagine, which is the freedom to literally make decisions about your own body. And on some issues, I think we've got to agree that partisanship should be put aside. And I'll close with this point. I know it is possible because when you look at the midterms, in so-called red states and so-called blue states, when this issue of freedom was on the ballot, the American people voted for freedom.
Shut up, you loser. That was part 2. I guess I'll try part 3. I don't know if this battery's going to hold out. Wait. There's 6 parts? I thought there was only 4 because I only saw 4 earlier. There's 6? Oh, damn.